G'day guys, just Rob here again doing another movie review, just of a movie I saw at the cinema. So today I'm doing Immortals, a movie that I was really looking forward to watching it. Sort of had high hopes for it, but yeah, no, sad to say I was very disappointed with this movie. I think mainly because I've sort of seen, I know it's probably not the same sort of genre, but I watched sort of Thor and I watched Captain America. And that, yeah, I was sort of really disappointed with those ones. So I was sort of hoping that this one was going to be, this was going to be the good one. I was really, really looking forward to it. But yeah, no, I was a bit disappointed with it. I just feel it's trying to be like an epic movie, which I guess it is in some respects. But I just sort of feel it sort of failed in its epicness. So basically, yeah, I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on it. Basically, the storyline is, let's have a look. I've just got a few notes here. So basically, you think like a long time ago, it's sort of like a great war, say, between the gods and the titans. Basically, the gods sort of won and sort of imprisoned the titans. So the storyline for the movie, basically, a long time ago, there was a big sort of war, say, between the gods and the titans. The gods sort of won and imprisoned the titans in this, a prison basically, and then yeah, sort of years later we get Mickey Rourke's character, Hyperion. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's basically a king. He's sort of out for revenge against the gods. I think for sort of murdering his family. So he's sort of on the hunt for revenge, and also to try and hunt down. I think it's called the Emperor's Bow, which is kind of like a magical sort of bow and arrow type weapon, I guess. So he's sort of a big hunt to try and find that. And you've also got Theseus, who's basically like a peasant at sort of the start of the movie, played by Henry Cavill. I think he's going to be the new Superman. And you also got John Hurt. He's sort of like a god, sort of in disguise, I guess, and he's sort of been training Theseus. Sort of in secret, because the gods are sort of banned from interfering in the life of man, I guess. Then you've also got the four oracles, the four virgin oracles, which can sort of predict the future, and that's how they sort of get the power, because they're all sort of virgins. Basically, there's four oracles, but there's only really one real oracle. The rest of their sort of fake ones, I guess, and they're just sort of there to sort of protect the real oracle, and also sort of people don't know if there's four of them, no one really knows which one's the real one, I suppose. So that's another sort of device they got to protect themselves. Basically, yeah, so basically the storyline. So basically I'll start with the good part of the movie. It had some really great visual, good sort of action and lots of sort of violence and gore and good sort of style to it, I suppose. Sort of similar, I suppose, say to the 300 movie. I think this is maybe sort of made by the same producers of 300. I haven't sort of seen 300. Also, probably similar to Clash of the Titans, which I've seen, which I thought wasn't perfect, but it was a reasonably good movie. Really good visuals. Mickey Rourke, I think he was really good in it. Really sort of mean and sort of brooding sort of character, and a bit sort of scary. I guess at the same sort of time. The 3D was actually, I thought was actually quite good in this movie. Probably a 4 out of 5 for the 3D. What's nice with 3D, I'm not sure if it's just me, but it seems to be, when you sort of watch the movie, it's sort of 3D at the start of the movie, and then at the end, it's probably a little bit in the middle, but you don't sort of notice it. I don't know if it's because you sort of get used to 3D and you just don't notice it sort of during the movie, but it seems to be really sort of prominent, usually at the start and the end of the movies. So that was pretty good. You also got lots of beautiful women and good looking men, I suppose, if you're into that sort of thing. And I thought the acting was fairly good. I can't sort of fault that. Some of the costume design was pretty awful though. I thought just really sort of cheap and plasticky looking. Okay, so the bad the movie. I just found some of the script was awful. A lot of sort of plot holes, and a whole lot of it just didn't make any sort of sense. Some of the music I sort of found was sort of really loud, and compared to the dialogue was sort of quiet, and you got this really booming sort of music, and sometimes the music was just really sort of out of place and just didn't really sort of fit the design for it. There's a scene where there's a few issues I sort of had with the movie. Some of the scenes were sort of cut too short, or there's also sort of scenes were perhaps sort of cut out, I guess. There's a sort of scene where Thesis and the Oracles they all sort of get captured, and the Thesis sort of chucked in like a slave camp, and he sort of spends the day. I think it's in the salt mine, sort of working all day in slave labour basically. And so at the end of the day, they sort of get led to like a pool where they can sort of wash themselves and drink, I guess. I guess sort of drinking out of a pool, which I thought was a bit gross. I thought all these, I don't think I ever want to drink out of a pool where people have sort of been bathing in sweat all day, and I thought that was a bit gross. So they're sort of there, all the slaves are all there, and then for no reason at all, the oracles are sort of led down. And pretty sure the only thing that was sort of there was just so the one oracle could sort of tell, the Thesis that he was sort of he's the one that's going to save us all, So that was a bit, I don't know, a bit out of place, I thought. And also as I said, one of the oracles sort of get the power from being virgins, and let alone, but you sort of find halfway through the movie that she sort of shags the main character without any sort of really no sort of ramifications on what she's doing, or the fact that she's sort of going to lose her power, which I thought was a bit didn't sort of make a whole lot of sense. There's sort of two things that Mickey Rourke said that sort of contradicted themselves, sort of a bit later. There's a scene where Mickey Rourke sort of captures a monk, and he's sort of talking to the monk, or trying to get information out of the monk, and the monk sort of grabs I think it's a knife, and so he's sort of pretending to sort of like he's sort of going to kill himself, and Mickey Rourke says, "Oh, I know you can't do that because I know all the customs, I know all about the land, and as a monk, you're sort of forbidden from sort of killing yourself, from taking your life. So I know you're not going to do that." And yet Mickey Rourke sort of finds out later that because one of the oracles has escaped, and he doesn't sort of realise that there should be 4 instead of 3. And I thought, well, if you know all about the customs of the land and how things work, surely you should know there should be 4 oracles instead of 3. And there's another scene where he says that because he's on this big mission to find the Emperor's bow, and he sort of had this big sort of speech about how he sort of looked high and low on the land, and sort of overturned every rock and looked in every sort of cranny of the land trying to find this bow, and yet we find that the bow's sort of in like I think it's like a burial chamber where also the peasants go every day. So you sort of get this really nice sort of burial chamber, I guess, with all sort of stone, smooth walls and really sort of nice. And then sort of in the middle, out of place, you get this big sort of lump of black sort of lava type rock or something, and apparently the bow's been in there the whole time. I thought, well, surely Mickey Rourke would know to look there, this out of place lump of rock that's sort of sitting out of place. Surely you'd look at that if you're trying to find this hidden Emperor's bow. Basically, the end. There's a few spoilers for us. If you don't want to sort of know the end, you should probably stop watching now. So basically, it ends up, Mickey Rourke sort of, gets his army, and they're sort of standing outside the big walls of this big sort of fort where everyone's sort of held up. So he sort of gets the Emperor's bow because he's sort of got it at this point. And sort of shoots a big arrow, and shoots a big huge hole in this big huge pretty thick wall. And I just found that this is sort of the same bow that the main character used before when he had it, and he sort of killed. There's a scene where there's like 3 sort of, I think it's like 3 oracles, and directly behind the 3 oracles sort of standing up, they've got the 3 part 3 guys out of Mickey Rourke's army, and they're about to sort of slit the throats of the oracles. So then the main character comes along and sort of she shoots 3 arrows, to sort of kill, sort of headshots basically to these 3 bad guys, and but this is the same, it's like basically precision, 3 precision arrows just take out 3 men. Then Mickey Rourke comes along and just uses 1 arrow and makes this big huge hole in the wall. So that didn't sort of fit together, So basically, so Mickey Rourke, he buys a big hole in the wall. Then immediately he sort of he sort of gets to the wall, and then sort of turns to the left, and the mate lays up at the very top of this big huge wall, shoots another arrow into a wall, and then is in the chamber where the Titans are imprisoned. So I thought, well, if you're going to have this big prison, surely you should sort of hide it further back in the fort or whatever it's going to be, instead of having it right in the wall. So yeah, so you shoots an arrow, opens up, bursts a hole in the prison, and releases the Titans. The gods come down because obviously they've got to step in and help out humankind. So basically, the gods they sort of start to own, basically, start killing off the Titans and doing very well. And then a few months later, they start to the Titans start to sort of overtake them, I guess, and start killing the gods. As soon as the arrows in the wall in the forts sort of blown up, the army inside basically you get scared and basically run away further inside the castle, further inside the fort, and basically throw down the weapons. And then Thesis, the main character, he comes along and gives this crappy 20-minute speech, which I can't remember what he said because I was just lost interest in the movie pretty much by then. Basically, then they go, start to roar and cheer and pick up the weapons and then start to fight. So and then so what Mickey Rock's sort of up the top in releasing the Titans out of their prison. Basically, the main guy, Thesis, he basically fights his way through this in a matter of minutes with his thousands and thousands of men in the opposing army. Basically, gets his way to the top and has a big fight with Mickey Rourke's character. And then that's pretty much how the movie ends. Pretty much the very last bits, they sort of get there's a scene where Thesis' kid basically sort of looking up at a statue of his dad. Basically, I think it must be like a few years later, I guess. He's just kid's been told all about his dad's life and about the history, I guess. That's pretty much how the movie ends. So for final thoughts, I just felt if they sort of spent perhaps a bit more money on building up the script and perhaps using less CGI, I guess it would have been an awesome movie, I reckon. I was just really disappointed with the script, and it just totally let the whole movie down for me. So if I perhaps watch the movie again, I might perhaps enjoy it a bit better, I suppose, perhaps on a second viewing. So I might do that, perhaps give it a bit of a benefit of the doubt. I mean, it had some really awesome visuals and good action scenes and good violence and really good gore, which is probably the only reason I'd probably suggest perhaps watching the movie, just for that. That's the only thing that sort of kept the movie going, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, I sort of spent, it cost me $18 to sort of see this movie. Same with Thor and Captain America as well, and this is really expensive. And I was just really sort of disappointed with all three of those movies, pretty much. And I just felt it was a bit of a waste of my money, to sort of do that. I thought. So I mean, and considering I can sort of, probably 6 months' time, I can probably buy the movie brand new for less than that on Blu-ray and sort of watch it at home, as many times as I want. It's I don't know, it just seems a bit of a waste of money, I suppose. So that's why I sort of rushed through. I didn't want to ramble on too much. So if you have any comments, if you disagree with me, certainly write a comment down below. And till next time, I'll see you later. Bye.